Shalom Aleichem, welcome to Mochem Vayira online Smicha. There are two Isurei D'Rabbanan that are classified as Isurim She'ein Lahem Ikar Min HaTorah. There is no basis for it Min HaTorah. It's strictly man-made. Man-made meaning Rabbanan made. The Rabbanan felt that there was a tzorech shah, there was a reason why we have to eliminate or we have to aser certain things. 4 reasons that they felt important. And they established new Isurim. And the 2 of them are Bishul akum and Pas akum, which means that all the ingredients are kosher. All the kalim that we use most probably are kosher. And if you don't know, you could assume that it's Stam Klei Akum Ein B'nei Yoimon. And yet, because the guy made the bread or the guy made the dish, the food, the Chachamim say you still should not eat it because as the reason goes, because once you allow this to happen, it creates a bond, it creates a friendship between the Yid and Lahavdil, the Goy, and who knows how far this will lead. Chas v'sholom, it could go as far as chasnas, into marriage. So this is something that the Chachamim on their own decided, even though all the items, all the ingredients and everything is kosher, but because of a side reason they felt to keep the Jews, Lahavdil, away from the Goys, from the Goyim, so we have to add this restriction. Now, in Shulchan Aruch and Yeridei, Siman Kuf Yud Beis and Siman Kuf Yud Gimel, that's where the halachas of Pas Yisroel and Bishul Yisroel are taught. And if you look into halachas, you see that Bishul Yisroel is a little stricter than Pas Yisroel because Pas, there's 2 shittas. Either it was a food item that you can't restrict too much because al alechem yichya adam, you can't put too many restrictions of bread. It's a necessity food item. Or the gzeira wasn't accepted even melechatchila. So there's a lot of wiggle room when it comes to the issue of Pas akum. When it comes to the issue of Bishul akum, we're pretty strong. And the Mechaber is much stricter than the Ramah. The Ramah allows the loopholes in Bishul akum the way we find loopholes in Pas akum. And the Mechaber is very strict about this. And the Mechaber wants to have all those items, all those food items, which will go under the umbrella of a possible Bishul akum issue, the Yid actually has to cook it. And when you learn the halachas, you'll see what that difference is. But what makes Pas Yisrael, and what makes Bishul Yisrael? Obviously, we're not talking about where I'm cooking at my house, all mine. I'm talking about when there's a joint effort between the Yid and Lahavdil the Goy. What is the involvement that the Yid has to have make it Pas Yisrael or to make it Bishul Yisrael? So in Siman Kuf Yud Beis, Seif Tes, the Mechaber gives 4 options for the bread. And for the bread, the Mechaber says, either, number 1, if the Goy lit the fire, but the Yid put the bread in there, that's option number 1. That would be Pas Yisrael. Option number 2, the Yid lit the fire and the Goy baked the bread, but at least the fire was lit by the Yid. That's Pas Yisrael. Number 3 is the Goy lit the fire, the Goy put the bread in, but the Yid came during the baking process and stirred the coals. So he did an action that benefits the baking of the bread. That makes it Pas Yisrael. And number 4, even if he didn't do those 4, he did it even less. The Yid didn't stir. The Yid didn't put the fire. He didn't put the bread in the oven. He just threw in a twig. And that the little twig makes the fire go a little stronger. All the bread is Pas Yisrael. And the Mechaber gives the reason, She'ein adover el aliyos heker. All we need is a clear mindset that the person knows that he has to stay away. And for the mindset, you need a small heker. And if you just show that you know that I know what the din is, and I know I have to stay away from Goyish bread, it's good enough. In Bishul akum, the Mechaber says these tricks will not work. In Siman Kuf Yud Gimel Siv Zayin, he says these tricks will not work. You'll need to literally make the Yid put the food on the fire. However, the Ramah says whatever works by Pas akum works by Bishul akum too. And over there, the Ramah adds 1 more. And the Ramah says, not only if he stirs it, not only if he throws in a twig, even if the Yid lit a pilot light, and the oven was now ignited from the pilot light that the Yid lit, even that would be enough involvement, enough heker to allow the food to be considered Bishul Yisroel. So, and back to in Pasakum, the Ramah says a Chiddush. The Ramah says, you know what else? There's a sixth thing. Even if the Yid did not put in wood, the Yid did not stir the coal, the Yid, nothing. All he did was blew on the fire. By blowing on the fire, it makes the fire spread a little. That's good enough. Comes the Bir Hagra, and the Bir Hagra says, what's blowing the fire do? So he's mitzayin to Gemara and Baba Kama. And the Gemara and Baba Kama, it says, a shayla, if somebody has chickens, somebody owns chickens, and the chickens cause damage in other people's stuff. So it depends if it was a direct damage, meaning if they jumped on something and it broke, or is it a gram hezek? A gram hezek means an indirect damage. Let's say they were running around and it was creating a lot of smoke, a lot of dust, and the dust ruined something. That's a ricochet effect. For a ricochet effect damage, it's only chatzi nezek. So the Gemara asks, what happens if one of my chickens stuck his head into a glass vase that belonged to somebody else and made a loud screech, and the screech busted the vase? And the question is that a direct damage, so I have to pay hezek shalom, or is it an indirect damage and I pay chatzi nezek? And the Gemara says that's considered a direct damage, since we see that the luft, the air that comes out of your mouth, is considered, like by the chicken, is considered a direct effect. So blowing at fire is a direct effect. Why am I stretching this out? Because there is a beautiful shaila on a discussion in halacha about, today's days, the fires are not necessarily lit with matches or putting in wood. You just press a button. So pressing a button is a direct effect. But then there is an opportunity where the Yid doesn't even press the button. What is it to start the oven? What he does is he sets a timer. He sets a timer at 4 a.m, the oven should kickstart. So the question is, setting a timer so the oven should kickstart at 4, 5, 6 in the morning, and then they'll do the baking and the cooking, is that sufficient heker enough for Pasakum? And this we find that Dayan Weiss in Shailos Tshuvas Minchas Yitzchak Chelik Dalet Simen Chav Hey says, why not? Since it's a gram, it's no different than the neficha, than blowing. Excuse me, says the Shailos Tshuvas Shevet HaLevi. Shailos Tshuvas Shevet HaLevi of Shmuel Vosner Chelik Tes Simen Kuf Samach Dalet. He says, didn't you hear what the Gra said? The Gra said that blowing on something is not considered a gram. That's considered a direct effect. It's considered like you cretched a button or you threw something in. So you can't say necessarily that it would be the same. Now, I would have made maybe differences between Pasakum and Bishulakum, but somehow I said that Pasakum would be easier, but Punk by Pasakum is where the Gra says that you need Koichoi. It's not enough gram. So I don't even know, I'm not so sure that igniting an oven in an indirect way, not having an personal direct connection to the fire burning now, if that would be good. And Shmuel Vosner challenges this, and he says, I don't know, I don't have a raya brura lahachmir, but he says, you know what, Dayan Weiss is makelit, you can rely on that. Which trickles down to another shaila. What happens if you train a pet to be able to start a fire, to start the oven somehow? So he brings a chakira. What is the most important part to make something bishul or pas Yisrael? Is it that the goy shouldn't do it, or no, that you have to do it? Because if the goy shouldn't do it, if it gets lit by a pet, by an animal, it's good enough. But if the whole point is that you should have a mindset, I got to stay away from this, I would say that a pet igniting or pressing a button to get it done would not be good, because as we see, that you need a maisa to be considered a heker.